can talk to her. Ask her to try to share.
Oh, yeah. Janina, can you hear us? Here. Janina?
Yes, I can.
Good morning.
Yeah. Hi. Good morning.
I'm glad that it has worked, the connection. So the technician tells me that you can
Share the PowerPoint.
share the PowerPoint now, yes.
I can now? Sorry, should I share it now just to try it or?
Yes. Do you have some slides?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you just try to share it now, please? We just want to test if it's working
Yeah.
from your side. Yes, she can share.
Very good. It works.
Is it also moving?
Yes, it is moving. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right.
Let's get started. We will kick off this meeting in the Intergroup for animal welfare and conservation of animals. And today's meeting will have the theme, the economic case to revise the farm animal welfare legislation. Today's meeting will focus thus on a dimension that is central to the ongoing legislative debate and to the successful implementation of higher animal welfare states across member states. The revision of EU farm animal welfare legislation represents a critical opportunity to align animal welfare, economic sustainability, competitiveness, and societal expectations. While the scientific rationale for higher animal welfare standards is well established, economic considerations remain decisive for policymakers, especially in this period where the Draghi report and the focus on competitiveness really takes up a whole lot of space in our discussions. So this session therefore aims to contribute to this debate by examining the economic implications and timing of phasing out harmful confinement systems, which with a particular focus on farrowing crates in pig production, so the fixation of sows that we see many places in the European Union that we want to phase out. What does it mean economically? What economic consequences will it have to make these changes? And we'll also examine the ways in which collaboration along the supply chain can enable and accelerate investments in higher animal welfare standards. So collaboration between, for example, farmers and retailers. How can we work together and make an economic case out of it? So the objective is not only to identify costs. It costs money to improve animal welfare, of course, but we will also look at the long-term benefits, transition pathway, and enabling conditions that can support farmers while delivering meaningful improvements. We believe, but that's what we're going to discuss, whether there are also some economic benefits of doing this. To explore these issues, the Intergroup is pleased to welcome two speakers who I will introduce in a minute. They bring complementary economic, farming, and civil society perspectives. First, I have a couple of announcements. There's a new oral question on when will the Commission deliver on its commitment to revise the EU animal welfare legislation. We've been promised, as you know, that we will have a revision of the animal welfare legislation, but we're still waiting. And so we made an oral question, and we hope to have a debate in the plenary. But as you know, the oral question, we collected the signatures, and it's now on the table of the Conference of Presidents. So if we can, I will do that with my group leader, tell her to please prioritize this. And if we can do that in different groups, then we will have a chance to have a plenary debate and call in the Commission and debate with them. The other announcement I will make, so I will encourage you to do that, basically. Great. The other announcement is the Fur-Free Europe stunt. That's an event which will take place in front of the Berlaymont building the Monday, the 23rd of February, 12:30 to 2:30 in the afternoon. And it's basically calling for a full EU ban on fur farming, and also a ban on placing of farmed fur on the EU markets. And there's a slot for MEP interventions that will take place at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you want to participate, you will have the opportunity also to speak as MEP. Right, and there will be that will be a good opportunity to show support for the Fur-Free Europe ahead of the Commission's forthcoming legislative plan on fur farming in March. Quick practical notes.
No. 15 minutes. Sorry.
We will not take the. Okay. I mean the meeting will be streamed still, right?
Yes.
in WebEx and will be recorded. Unfortunately, there's no interpretation this time around. As you can see, we struggle a little bit with the room. So we're trying to look for rooms, and in this room, there's no possibility to have interpretation. And we hope and work for that we find some solutions to this solution. Right, now we go to the theme of today. So the first...
Sorry, there's the intervention of Christina first.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And that's not in my notes, but I will take note of that. So where is this? Great. Christina, you would like to present a current issue in Italy regarding compliance with EU animal welfare rules in avian influenza management in Italy. So we look forward to hearing about that.
Thank you very much. I'm really pleased, and thank you, Chair, for letting me share this particular experience that we are having in Italy. I think it's very useful also for the discussion, because today we are going to discuss, and our discussion will be focused on the economics of animal welfare and supply chain investments. But there is a critical question we must address. How do we ensure that public funds, including EU crisis management resources, actually support the standards we are trying to build, rather than subsidizing their systematic violation? Let me share a concrete example case from Italy that illustrates this paradox. In 2025, Italy recorded 64 avian flu outbreaks, part of the 699 across Europe. Most were concentrated in Veneto, Lombardy, and Emilia-Romagna regions that Commission already flagged in 2022 as critical due to intensive farming density. Between 2020 and 2025, these three regions spent 266 million on culling and compensation. A substantial share came from EU crisis management funds. That's a significant public investment, but without effective compliance mechanism along the supply chain. But here is the problem. Investigative journalist Giulia Innocenzi and the Food for Profit team have documented on video that several culls violated animal welfare regulation in shocking ways, very shocking ways. In one duck farm, the gas culling failed. Around 400 animals survived. Workers beating surviving ducks with sticks, kicking them, throwing them violently against walls, breaking their necks incorrectly and repeatedly. The veterinarian, whose job it was to supervise compliance, not only watched, but participated in these violations. That farm received 70,000 in public compensation. But it's not just about culling methods. Biosecurity failures are systemic in one farm, for example, documented in this video. Infected carcasses were left outside, covered only with a tarp, an open invitation, obviously, for wildlife to spread the virus further. In another case, cameras captured dead chickens and rats scattered in sheds and corridors. Live chickens pecking at dead ones, carcasses peeled on a tractor shovel outside, and slurry so deep it covered workers' boots past the ankles. So these conditions don't just violate animal welfare, they create the perfect breeding ground for viral spread. And this is a serious public health risk. We have seen avian flu jump species, therefore there is a great pandemic potential. That's why I am submitting a written question to the Commission asking, how does the Commission verify that crisis funds are used in compliance with animal welfare law? And how will compliance tool be strengthened in the upcoming animal welfare legislation revision? So I really want you I really want to invite all of you colleagues to co-sign this written question, because we need answer and we need them before the next funding cycle. Finally, I'd like also to ask if are any of you aware of similar cases in your countries, violations during culling operation, misuse of crisis funds, poor biosecurity linked to intensive farming, something like this. If there is some case also in your land, in your constituency, in your member state, we may think to extend the scope or at least plan future actions on the matter. Thank you a lot for the time that you spent to listen to this experience, and I hope that we can collaborate on this, because it's not only animal welfare, and I have to admit, those images were really shocking. Shocked not only people like me, but also people that are not so sensible to animal welfare. And in the meantime, I have to admit, we need to create a good environment in order to preserve public health, because these type of experience are creating a big issues in the healthcare system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina. And of course, we would like to help, and thank you for the call that you make. And you say that you are making a written question.
Yes.
Could we in some way contribute to that? Do you want us to sign it, or how do you see it?
Yes, as I asked, I invite you to sign it. I will send it to your email contact, so you can please just write back in order to subscribe.
Thank you. Let's maybe we can send it out in the intergroup, but we can just talk about that. Thank you. Thank you, Christina. Good. Now we'll go to the theme of today, and that is, as mentioned, the economic case for improving animal welfare. And we will start by looking concretely at the optimal timing of banning farrowing crates in the pig industry. So the fixation of sows, the sow stalls. And we have with us Mr. Griffin Carpenter, an environmental economist who is an independent consultant, who has great experience in this field, and who will examine the economic impacts of banning farrowing crates in the EU pig sector. And so, Griffin, the floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Great. Well, thank you to the Intergroup for the opportunity to present today. As mentioned, I'll be presenting a recent study that I co-authored looking at the specific timing of the forthcoming ban on farrowing crates in pig farming. Next slide. So first, a little policy context. After the success of the End the Cage Age ECI in 2023, the Commission announced that there would be forthcoming legislation. Let's say progress has been uneven. We're in 2026. We still don't have any legislative file on banning the use of farrowing crates. So that's on the right of the slide there, a confinement for the sows that's used after the birth of a new litter. In the average year, a sow will spend about 80 days confined in these crates. So eventually there will be a transition to free farrowing, which is more space the sow can turn around and exhibit some more natural behaviors. So the policy question here is not if the ban on farrowing crates comes in, but when. So that's what we're exploring. And the uncertainty around the timing of this ban is creating a difficult investment environment for farmers. So if you're a farmer, you're wondering, well, my equipment's getting old right now. Do I invest in new equipment or in a new barn? Or do I wait for this new policy that eventually is going to be coming at some point? And if you decide you have to invest, well, do you invest in the traditional crates you've always been using? Or do you decide, well, I'll be proactive and I'll make the transition to free farrowing even though the ban hasn't been announced? And if you decide you're going to be proactive, well, what dimensions do you put in? If there's no policy, we don't know exactly what are the requirements for this new pen size. So no matter what, you're making a risk of stranded assets. That is an investment in new infrastructure that maybe you can't use. You can't repay for that investment that you make. So this is a concern for farmers, and of course it's a concern for the banks that are making loans to farmers, knowing that maybe that farmer won't be able to repay the loan, they won't be able to use the equipment. So essentially what we're doing in this briefing is we're simulating how farmers will make investments under different scenarios, under different ban dates, now in 5 years and 10 years, and different lengths of transition periods. So analyzing this time dimension. Next slide. So 3 main scenarios. The first one we'll call the baseline, which is more or less as soon as possible. An announcement in 2028, that farrowing crates can no longer be used in a 10-year transition period, which is kind of standard. We already have national bans in place, Sweden, Germany, Austria, so this is kind of standard practice. We can imagine a delayed scenario, so the Commission still sitting on its hands, no announcement until 2033, so 5 years later, or a more aggressive policy, a shortened scenario, which announces in 2028, but with only a 5-year transition period. And the basic of the model is one fact. Why do farmers ever invest? So forget farrowing crates, forget EU policy. Why does a farmer ever decide to make an investment in new equipment? And it's more or less like you or I making a capital purchase, buying a car. At some point, operating old machinery is so expensive in maintenance and upkeep and annoyance and safety that you say, okay, enough's enough. It's actually going to be cheaper to buy new equipment than to keep operating the old equipment. And there's kind of a magic tipping point where you reach. So for equipment in farm economics, it's usually about 12.5 years for farrowing crates, but also lighting systems, electricity, and so on. For buildings, it's longer, of course. So 25 years, that's when you normally refresh the buildings. And there's 2 key data inputs to the modeling that I want to mention here. And one is the existing age of farms. Because if farms were recently invested in, if maybe there's a policy change 5 years ago, so pig farms already redid all their equipment, then the Commission delaying the announcement of a ban isn't so bad, because farmers have just recently reinvested, so they can wait longer. Alternatively, if farms are already old, then further delays for the ban announcement mean that the infrastructure is getting older and more costly to maintain and less safe, and it's the latter. So what we see is that the average age of farm buildings is 17 years, and the average age of equipment is 10 years. So pig farms are old. They're waiting to invest, and the fact that we're still waiting for a ban to be announced means that they're old and getting older. The second point I want to mention is on comparative costs. Because we have the existing farrowing crates, and we have these new free farrowing systems. And if the costs are similar, then farmers feel the confidence to make the change. It's not more costly. But what we find is that because the sows take more space in free farrowing systems, it's more expensive to operate these new systems. So basically, we need the policy change. The transition's not going to happen on its own. Next slide. Next slide. So here are the results. There's going to be a couple of these. So I'm sorry, economist, we're going to get used to seeing some graphs. The percentages on the side are investments in farrowing capacity, meaning how many sow places are there new investments in. So 10% means 10% of the sow places in the EU are undergoing a new investment. The red is in new crate systems. So these are farmers that are saying, I can't continue to wait for a new policy to come. I'm actually going to reinvest in crates and keep sows in the crates for a longer period of time, despite the policy promise. The green is farmers undergoing the transition from crates to free farrowing, and the blue is further in time when actually they're already operating free farrowing systems and they need to renew those systems. And what we see here is that after the ban is announced in 2028, slowly farmers are replenishing their equipment. And then most farmers, the most common farmers, waiting to the end of the transition period in 2038 before they make that change. So that's a spike in 2038. And that's because it's more expensive to operate free farrowing systems. Next slide. Here's the, yeah.
This is what you expect, of course, because this is in the future, but it's a plan, but it's your prognosis, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a modeling of farm costs because we have data on the capital costs of new infrastructure. We have labor costs, feed costs, etc. So all this is plugged in because, for example, sows and piglets eat more or less food under different systems. So a lot of costs are plugged into this. And the next slide is the shortened scenario. The baseline's in the bottom right, so we can make a visual comparison. The shortened scenario is just a more extreme version. the transition period is condensed from 10 years to 5 years, so there's an even bigger spike in 2033 at the end of the transition. Next slide. And here's the delayed scenario. And you'll notice there's more red now on the left. So these are farmers that are saying, we can't wait for a ban to be announced forever. Our systems are old, maybe they're unsafe, we're spending a lot in maintenance. So they keep reinvesting in crate systems, despite the fact that they know a ban is coming eventually. They keep investing in crate systems. Next slide. So now we'll introduce two more scenarios, what I call policy adjustments. And one is that under the previous scenarios, we were assuming that once the ban is announced, farmers can keep operating their crate systems until the end of the transition period, but they can't invest in new crate systems. So 10 years to phase out what you're already using. But we can relax that assumption. And the last one is using a subsidy. So again, I mentioned there's some national bans already. Sweden's has been in place for almost 30 years. And they tend to subsidize new investments in free farming systems. Next slide. So if during the transition period, farmers are allowed to invest in new crates, we actually have this counterintuitive result, where in 2028, the ban is announced and farmers go out and buy crates anyways. So the headline news, crates now banned, they go out and they invest crates because with a 10-year transition period, it's long enough for farmers to say, I can do one more cycle using the existing crate systems before I have to make the inevitable transition. So there's a big warning here in policy design. Next slide. And this is with the subsidy. And there's two things I want to point out here. One is, okay, we always have the spike in the last year, farmers waiting till the end, but there's a little more investment happening at the beginning as well. So the subsidy essentially front loads some of the transition, which means less time that sows are spending in crates under this as soon as possible transition. It's also a little bit darker color green, if you can see that. And that's the color which is not renovating existing barns, but actually building new ones. So instead of just changing crates to pens, they actually change the whole system and maybe make it tailored for that practice. Next slide. Next slide again. Okay, so just summarizing, these are the scenarios down on the left, and you'll see we have something of a trade-off. So the shorter the scenario, the less time sows are spending in crates. Again, that's the policy goal here. So this is measured in millions of sow years. So the sow spending an entire year fixed in this cage. We have the costs in the middle there. So again, it's flipped around where the delayed scenario has the least amount of costs. And then on the far right, we have essentially combining these two together, an efficiency measure. What is the cost to avoid the experience of a sow spending in a crate? So 170 euros is more or less the cost to avoid 1 year in a crate, or we can do this per day, so about 50 cents per day to avoid the experience of a sow in a crate. So those are the costs we're talking about. Next slide. So just summarizing what we've learned here. One, pig farms are old, they're getting older. The policy uncertainty at the moment with the delayed ban is causing delayed investment, and this is carrying costs to farmers through maintenance costs, safety, also things like interest rates on loans. It's harder to find a loan right now if banks are saying, well, we don't want to invest in a farm, knowing that their equipment might be banned in a couple of years. Number three, that free farming is more expensive, so there's no natural transition here. We need policy change to force it. For that, farmers will wait to the end of the transition period to make that change. And lastly, that the delay in the policy announcement means that, in a sense, we're in the worst of all worlds because the costs are increasing, maintenance costs are increasing, it's harder to upkeep these farms, while at the same time, the policy objective is not being met. So costs are increasing, and yet sows are still being spending their lives in these cages. Last slide, please. So there's a couple of lessons for ban design. Next slide. Previous slide. So one is it should be announced as soon as possible. Farms are waiting to invest, and we cannot delay much longer because, as we saw in the delayed scenario, there's a real risk that farmers reinvest in crates, which is the opposite of what the ECI is accomplishing. This risk of reinvestment in crates is even higher if new investment is permitted during the transition period. And lastly, the EU can consider subsidies here. It helps. It also front loads some of the transition. And again, it contributes to the policy goal of ending time spent in cages for pigs. Thank you. I'm available for questions, and the email's there to chat after the meeting as well.
Thank you very much, Griffin. Interesting, and I'm sure there will be some questions for your presentation. Now we will have the second intervention. The theme is how collaboration along the supply chain can facilitate animal welfare investments. We'll hear from a farmer, and we'll hear, and it will focus on the practical farmer-led solutions, illustrating how cooperation across the supply chain can actually improve things. So Janina van der Drift from Kalverliefde, you're with us online, and we look very much forward to hearing you. And maybe you can explain, to begin with, a little bit about yourself and Kalverliefde, who, for those who might not know what that is. The floor is yours, Janina.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for letting me present my story here. I'm a delegate of Caring Farmers, which is a group of pioneering farmers in the Netherlands. I'm not a farmer myself, but I will explain shortly why I'm here anyway. I hope everybody can hear me and see the presentation.
We can hear you and see,
Janina
so that's good.
Okay, cool. My name is Janina van der Drift, and I founded Kalverliefde, which is milk from organic farmers that keep the calves with the cow, which is a rare sight. So the photo you see here is a unique picture of a dairy calf with a cow. I founded Kalverliefde as an animal lover out of personal interest. I live in a rural area in the Netherlands called the Green Heart, and my house is surrounded by farmers, by dairy farmers. And I once visited a dairy farm with my daughters, and of course we came at a point that they wanted to see the calves, but I knew what to expect, and probably you also know what to expect in dairy farms. A barn full of calves is a barn full of calves housed individually, solitarily, without their moms, even at a very, very young age, because it's still common practice to separate the calves immediately from their moms, so right after birth, and denying them the care and also the milk from their mothers. Which they need as being a mammal. So that's a practice that I didn't want to see, to be honest, in my free weekend day. So I told my kids to go in the barn themselves and waited outside. But it was then and there that I decided I should stop drinking milk or find farmers who do keep the calves together with the cows. Initially only for my or just for my own consumption. But during my search for these farmers, I began to wonder, as an ex-Unilever sales marketeer, wouldn't there be a market for their milk, for these farmers that are pioneering and keeping the calf with the cow? Would it be possible to collect their milk separately? And very importantly, would there be any retailer interested in selling this concept? In other words, what if compassion wasn't a cost, but something we could actually value in the market? And actually, that's the mission of Kalverliefde, to prove that you can create a viable business model for farmers that want to keep the calf with the cow. So what is Kalverliefde? Kalverliefde is a Dutch expression for the love between two young adults. It all literally translates into calf love, but the not literal translation, the love between young adults is something very cheerful, and everybody looks happily back to their first love. But it's our brand of organic milk coming from calf and food dairy farmers. And it's the first calf-cow contact dairy brand in the Netherlands and maybe across the world in supermarkets on a larger scale. We keep the calves with the cow, more than 45 days for the bull calves and 2.5 months for the heifer calves. And we sell in the major Dutch supermarkets like Albert Heijn, Plus, Jumbo, and Picnic. And we also sell to horeca, so cafes, etc. In this photo here, you see farmer Dirk, and Dirk has kept the calves with the cow for more than 20 years now. So he's really a pioneer. And in those pioneering 20 years, he had not received any compensation for the loss in milk that he experienced. So just for your knowledge, a calf that's allowed to suckle with his mom drinks around 15 liters a day, which is of course a loss, an economic loss for the farmer, which this farmer in his 20-year career did not get any reward for. So he did it out of intrinsic motivation to be a dairy farmer that's as close to nature as possible. But if you look at the economics of a farmer, you do need to compensate them for the loss in milk. Farmers are willing to change, but you need to work according to the way they work, and they need to be able to make a living out of offering more animal welfare. So we offer a bonus of 12 euro cents above the major price for milk in the market. So that's the highest welfare bonus in the Dutch market. And for that, we compensate this loss in milk. And with this calf at food bonus, we actually value animal welfare. And it really helps in creating farmers that want to change their dairy system into calf at food dairy system, because in this way they can really afford offering more animal welfare. Well, it's not easy if you want to sell fresh milk in the Netherlands. So what I just briefly told you, that when I started Kalverliefde, I was still working for Unilever, so I knew the market and I knew the retailers, and that really helps. Because if you introduce a product, it doesn't really matter if it's a high animal welfare or laundry detergent. The challenge is always to stay on shelf. But with something that offers higher animal welfare, it also comes at a higher cost. So the compensation of the milk loss, makes the milk of a higher cost price, which results in a higher price towards the retailer, which results in a higher consumer price. And then you have the challenge of, with this higher shelf price, that you need to make sure that the product sells quickly enough on shelf. This is called rotation. And if you don't, if the product doesn't rotate, the rules of the retailer are that it will be delisted. And well, that would have been my worst case scenario, because if you delist a product like this, calf at food dairy, I know for sure that the next coming 10 years nobody will try to redo this, and the whole mission would die, to be honest. So that's really the issue and the challenge in general of keeping or of introducing higher welfare products to the consumer. And just to give you an idea of how much more expensive Kalverliefde is. So at the bottom you see our brand, €2.49, and the cheapest milk in the market is let's say let's compare organic milk is 1.45. So we are compared to organic milk €1 more expensive, and to regular milk approximately €1 more expensive. So how do you then introduce something like with higher welfare to the consumer, because it's very important that the consumer wants to pay more for this higher welfare concept. For me, it was very important to keep the tone of voice positive and build bridges between farmers and consumers. When 3 years ago I founded the brand, all the flags are our national flag were upside down in the rural area. So this is the road to my house. This was 10 kilometers full of flags upside down, and it was a sign of the farmers that they were in distress. And yeah, if the public opinion is that farmers are in distress, it's really no point in pointing out that they're not doing a good job as dairy farmers and that they should keep the calf with the cow. So my intention was to really build bridges between farmers and consumers and say it's possible to keep the calf with the cow. We understand that it's not easy for everybody to do so, but dear consumer, if you want to keep the calf with the cow, then just buy this more expensive milk. It's really essential also to invest in media exposure, make sure that the brand is well known. These are just facts that you learn when you know that when you sell products to supermarkets that you just need to do. And another important thing is to work together with NGOs. I really work closely together with caring farmers, obviously, which gives me a strong network of farmers and gives me lots of insights and information on how farmers work and farmer policies. I work together with Eyes on Animals and Wakker Dier to make sure that the way our farmers keep the animals is done in a way that really helps welfare. So that's really they make sure that farmers keep our animals in a good way. Well, in the end, it's always important to know, does it work? So I proudly can say that we sell our milk in 1,000 supermarkets across the country and also to restaurants and cafes. And we expanded also our milk to yogurt. We grew from 3 farmers at the beginning to 9 farmers currently, and that's, I think, the major accomplishment. That every time we increase, every time the demand in our milk increases because we have we introduced at a new supermarket, we can abort a new farmer. So we really in that case grow organically and in a healthy way. In last year we sold almost 2 million liters. So even though we are in at least in the Netherlands, 2 million liters is still really very small. We are very visible, and we have created with our brands and offering the consumer not presenting only the problem of early separation between calf and cow, but also offering a solution, because they can now buy this milk if they think the problem is relevant for them. We have created a whole discussion around it between NGOs and the government and farmers around the issue of early separation, and I think that's a very nice extra accomplishment of our brands. So what we've learned so far is
so Janina, just if you can come to an end, not so far from here, and we will have time for a couple of questions.
I will just 10 seconds. So what we've learned so far regarding animal welfare along the supply chain, it's possible, but farmers need security, a fair price, and long-term market guarantees. You need to play by the rules of the retailers. You need to know the rules of the retailers in order to introduce these welfare products. Labeling is crucial. Consumers will pay for more welfare if they understand the story. And legislation can definitely help by creating a level playing field. So meaning that it would have helped us if we would not be the most expensive milk to buy, and to support the pioneers. So farmers like us, they don't get any subsidies or anything, because they already are well above standard of the industry. So that was it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Janina. That was, I can hear some of my colleagues clapping, applauding here in the room. I think that was truly inspiring and fascinating. So I will now open up the floor. We have around 15 minutes, and if there are colleagues that have questions or comments, feel free. Manuela, you will be the first one, then Jessica.
To use the microphone. I hope you can hear me. Janina, thank you so much for this great initiative of yours. I was looking for that milk for so long, really. And every time I buy organic milk, I always try to read if there is this program, because I know that there were farmers who tried this, but one milk that I saw on this disappeared in Germany. So really great applause for you that you did this endeavor, and I wish you all the best success that you can have. And my question would be, do you know other producers in Europe who have this kind of milk, or are you the only one in Europe doing this? Or maybe you know from Germany, which is nearer to you, if there is a producer who does this. And what would be your recommendation to organic farmers who would like to also have this way of keeping calves and cows and to do the change? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manuela. And just Janina, we will take a couple of comments and then we'll get back to you. You can also, of course, comment or question what Griffin, the presentation that he had. Jessica, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I have a question for both speakers. Janina, I'm Jessica van Leeuwen. I'm a member of the BBB, Farmer Citizens Movement in the Netherlands. And to be honest, I think it's a very inspiring story. I just was listening to your story and said, okay, the farmers get 12 cents more, but in the shop it's €1 more. While basically in terms of packaging, there shouldn't be a big difference. So I wonder, where does the other 88 cents go to? Because if it allows the retailers to make an extra profit while they're already making profit on milk, so I'm a little bit interested to see how that goes down the supply chain, just to have a better understanding of it. But it is a very nice concept, and I'm definitely going to check if my supermarket has Kalverliefde milk, because I have 4 kids and they drink a lot of milk, so that would make a big difference. And I have a question also. I'm sorry, because I arrived late, so I apologize for that. Too many voting lists this morning. Regarding the implementation of cage-free farrowing, I think it's good to have a common understanding on the lives in cages, because of course a sow doesn't live in a cage. She spends approximately 60 days a year in the cage, so it's not like they're in the old times. They used to be caged, of course, but that's a lot better in terms of animal welfare. But when we talk about this, and I wonder if you looked into this, because the transition period is not only there to allow the farmers to continue as long as possible to have this old system, but if we're going to a free farrowing system, we also need to look into the genetics, because you have to have good maternal instincts. Otherwise we have crushed piglets, and that is not only not nice for the piglets that are crushed, but it will also increase the costs, because the raised litter size will be smaller. So the farmer needs time to adapt the herd to the good maternal instincts. And I was wondering how much it increases the cost price, or well, let's say cost price per kilogram of sold pork. If we would do this in Europe, what would it mean for our competitiveness? I mean, today we have this meeting where the council comes together to talk about our competitiveness. And I also always find myself in this breaking point. Yes, I'm a big in favor of improving animal welfare, but we have to do it in a way that everybody can come along with us. So that is my question. Thank you.
Relevant questions, Jessica. Maria?
Thank you so much. Thank you for both. I think we speak to both yes speeches. Yes, a question about the milk situation. What is with the male calves? With the male calves after the 3 weeks, we have always the problem that we have a clear. We need for the next generation. We need the female calves, but not the male. And is there an idea? We have the same situation with the chicken. In Germany we say the Bruderküken, the brother of the chicken. Yes, what is with the brother of the milk cows? And this, I think, this question is open, and I think you have a so perfect new style to get milk. Then my question, you have a good answer for the brother of the milk. Sorry, yes. And to the first speaker, I have two questions. The first is, you said they are all waiting of the end of the period. Then they invest always in the last year. I think it could be more in the future. And we see that step by step rules get weak, and I think the idea is we are waiting, and then the rule fall down. And we saw this, for example, in Germany about the pigs. The pigs, the German farmers are waiting, and then they were shocked. We have to do this really. We have to, yes, clear. It's rule. We have to do this really. And I think we must be clear. If we have a weak position in the parliament, or then we have not the investment in the last, then we have no investment. They are waiting for to delete the situation. And the next question or the next idea could be in the next CAP there is more money for young farmers. Was in every speech, yes, the young farmers, but there is not really an idea what should the young farmers do with the money. Normally, we should have a link. You are a young farmer, you get more money if. And then I think this could be a good place for investment to make okay, the old style, the father do the old style, now the son is the farmer, and they should have money to begin in a new way. My idea is this possible to have a link between the young farmer income, the special money for the young farmer, together with you get more for young farmers if you do something for animal welfare. Thank you.
Good questions. Thank you. Now I'll turn back to our two presenters, and Griffin, if you would like to start, you have 3-4 minutes, and then Janina will also have 3-4 minutes afterwards. Please.
Great. Yes, excellent questions. Sorry, I only heard the first names. Jessica, yeah, at the beginning of the presentation, we talked a bit about the crates. So indeed, it's not the full life. About 78 days is the number I had seen before in a typical year, 2 and a bit litters. And yeah, excellent questions, of course, about the price and competitiveness. And we're in a fortunate situation in having the diversity of member state experiences in that there are national bans. So Sweden has been in place almost 3 decades. Germany, Austria are going through it right now. So clearly every country is unique and a special snowflake, but we can learn from these examples. So interestingly, in Sweden, their production costs right now are similar to the other countries. Now, some of this is going to be over a longer period of transition. You don't expect this in year 1. You snap your fingers and all of a sudden farmers who are used to one system are equally competitive at producing in another system. But it's still very informative, I think, to know that there's a learning by doing phase, that there's economic benefits to producing in scale, that you'll have equipment manufacturers that are turning out pens now at the same way that they turn out crates. So over the longer term, we would see something close, probably not the same, but close in terms of cost competitiveness at this level. And keep in mind, of course, that the EU is actually an exporter of pig meat. So we wouldn't model some sort of like, now we're importing a lot of pig meat from the US or China or elsewhere. Maria, questions? Yeah, mostly about policy. I'm the number cruncher, but those sound like very good policy additions to what I've seen elsewhere. I mean, recently in the news, I think of the car makers that are pushing back the ban on petrol and diesel, that you'll always wait to the end of the transition, maybe for economic reasons, but also crossing your fingers that maybe policy delay can be pushed back. And if you wait until the last year, you say, maybe farmers will say, there's too much of a backlog in construction. We can't get contractors to come in and install farrowing pens. Everybody's trying to do it at the same time. So, okay, add another 5 years of delay on top of that. I think indeed smart policy making would incentivize early investment. Maybe more of a subsidy in the first year, and the subsidy decreases over time towards that final ban date. And conditionality and cap, again, not a policy expert here, but I think that sounds like good practice as well.
Thank you. Janina, you have the floor.
Yes, so I'll just go quickly through the questions. The question was, where does the money go? I think that's what the note was. So if you look at our milk, it's including the calf food bonus, it's almost twice as expensive as just regular milk. And if you then collect this milk separately from the farms, so it's not mass balanced separately, we produce separately, and then you sell it to the supermarket, which results also in a percentage raise, because they have margins, they work with margins. Then you come at a price of almost €1 more expensive. So that's just how the industry works. Then there was a question regarding if I knew any other producers in our, for instance, our neighboring countries. I know there's a similar initiative in Germany, and also there are similar initiatives in the UK, but not at such a large scale and not so visible as it is now in the Netherlands. I think the big advice is to those farmers that want to sell their milk, that they look for Janina, that really markets their milk, because you need to get the consumer to make sure that they want to buy your milk, of course, and you need somebody who knows how to sell it to the supermarkets, because that's initially where the consumer wants to buy their products. Then there was a question on the milk costs, or the brother costs, a nice term. Yes, that I think is a really big welfare problem. So of the dairy industry, especially in the Netherlands, where we import also a lot of costs, and we raise them, and not in the most friendly way. Understatement, and which means that the product is it can be sold at quite a low price, which means that if we try to raise our bull costs in a better way, with more animal welfare, the price of the meat that comes from it is more expensive. So I think that is a really big theme that I would love to get into more details with you, but something that you need to be aware that's still part of the dairy industry, and we try to solve it in the most in the best way with Kalverliefde, by working closely with good farms, but that's still a big issue.
Okay, thank you very much, Janina. Thank you, Griffin. Thank you for those perspectives that I think give us a lot to think about. I would certainly wish, Janina, that in Denmark, where I come from, that we had something similar. So I take your story as inspiration. And I also pay attention to, Griffin, that you say that the possible extra cost in the long run might not, for phasing out these crates, might not be overwhelming. So I think we have some arguments. I see you, Maria. And so we'll close today's session with some good arguments in the pack. And we will see you again the 12th of March. We will focus here on cage-free new legislation for pigs, rabbits, and cows. So we'll follow up on your arguments, Griffin. And and we'll get back to you with a further agenda. So thank you very much, and see you next time. So, right, okay. Yes, then if you...
Sebastian had to leave, but we would like to invite everyone to our event. It's a film screening about misused funds in Romania that are actually used for killing stray dogs. Exactly, that's on 25th of February at 6. Thank you.